Hi guys. Today I'm going to do a nonfiction reading lesson, and we're going to focus on text structure. And I want to see if, based on what we read about a bald eagle, what text structure you think it is. So as I'm reading, be thinking of which text structure, nonfiction text structure, you think the nonfiction passages that I read. So be thinking, is it descriptive? Whoa, that got close. Is what I'm about to read in chronological order? Is that the main text structure? Is it focused on comparing and contrasting, compare and contrast between two or more things? Is it more cause and effect? So it explains the events, the causes, the results of these events. Is that the main text structure of what I am about to read? Or is it problem and solution? So is there like a main problem at the beginning and then solutions? And some of them might be attempted solutions, but at the end that there is a main solution, the problem is solved. So be thinking of which of these, wow, this thing's going crazy. Which of these text structures what I'm about to read is. So it's just how the information is organized for the reader. It could be more than one text structure, but think of which one it is mostly focusing on that the writer was really trying to focus on. So obviously you don't know yet because I haven't read the passage yet, but be thinking of that as I'm reading. So the nonfiction passage I'm reading today is a true story called New Hope for Beauty by Karen Smith and Carrie Moore. So the first thing I noticed in this is the nonfiction text features, right? Like the title is in bold. And then we have some italic writing here and a photograph. So I'm going to first read what is in this box. In 1789, George Washington became the first president of the United States, and the bald eagle became America's official bird and symbol of our strength, power, and freedom. Whoa. The bald eagle is found only in North America, from Alaska to Mexico and from the Pacific to the Atlantic Ocean. A law protects the bald eagle. Anyone caught trying to kill, sell, keep, or bother this mighty bird can receive a severe punishment. I actually do not know the actual punishment that one would have if they were found trying to kill or sell or keep or bother the bald eagle. I'm interested to know what. All right, so that's almost like the intro. It's sort of preparing us for the story. It was 2005 when a bald eagle was discovered trying to scrounge for food in a dump in Alaska. The eagle was the victim of an illegal hunter who shot off her upper beak. The poacher left the eagle to slowly starve and die since she had a hard time drinking water, could not grasp food, and could not preen or clean her feathers. Because a bullet had taken off her curved upper beak, the majestic bird was left with her tongue and sinus openings exposed to the cold air and possible infection. So the sinus opening would be kind of like where our nostrils are. Our nostrils, right? These are our sinus openings. For a bird, they're right. They kind of left all of that open. This is obviously the bird that they were speaking of, because the upper beak got shot off. So that doesn't have a really important part, right, of their beak. Luckily for the bird, later named Beauty, she was taken to a recovery center in Anchorage, Alaska. The caretakers at the center fed Beauty strips of meat by hand as they waited for a new beak to grow back. Waited for a new beak to grow. After almost 2 years, Beauty's beak didn't grow, and the caretakers thought she would die. That's when specialist Jane Cantwell asked to keep Beauty at her Birds of Prey Northwest Recovery Center in Idaho. Since Cantwell is a specialist on how to care for birds that kill for food, she knew how to provide for Beauty by giving her water and feeding her with tongs each day. So tongs are kind of like tweezers, right? And if you notice, care for birds that kill for food, do you think that Beauty, the bald eagle, struggles to feed herself, or was really struggling to feed herself because she didn't have that sharp, important upper beak? Once when Cantwell was in Boise, Idaho, speaking at a meeting, she met an engineer named Nate Calvin who was interested in making an artificial beak for Beauty, so artificial being fake. Calvin got a team of engineers, veterinarians, and dentists together who volunteered to help make the prosthetic beak out of lightweight nylon. Nylon is just like a material. The team made several molds and used computer images so the nylon beak would fit Beauty without any problems. So think of it as, I'm sure you've seen someone who was either born without an arm or a leg, or they had an accident that caused it, and then the doctors were able to build like an artificial or a prosthetic leg or arm that functioned as that body part. So that's what they're doing for Beauty. Next page. At first, Calvin thought the beak would be attached with small screws, but the team decided the screws would be too close to Beauty's brain and eyes. They didn't want to do any more harm to the bird, so they decided to glue the beak to Beauty's stub. This meant Beauty could never be released to live in the wild because the beak would be too weak for her to tear meat, but the team thought it was best for Beauty. The time finally came for Beauty to get her new artificial beak. The team worked on Beauty for almost 2 hours in a garage that belonged to Cantwell's neighbor. Everyone spoke softly and worked quietly. They did not want to disturb Beauty and make her more nervous as she laid on her back, fully awake for the entire procedure. The volunteers took the nylon beak off and on several times so they could grind it, sand it, and trim it with scissors in order to make it fit perfectly. So Miss Dale is thinking right now and having a bit of empathy and sympathy for this bird. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be laying on your back fully awake and that vulnerable. This bird is used to being like a strong predator and right now putting its trust in these humans. But if you can see, assuming that this is Beauty after the procedure, that beak looks pretty good. After the surgery, Cantwell held Beauty and said, "The eagle has landed and she has a beak." Since Beauty can't survive in the wild with her new beak, Cantwell plans to keep her in captivity and speak at meetings to show how some people can be cruel and others can be compassionate. Be thinking what cruel and compassionate, and which of these people in this story, in this true story, were cruel and which ones were compassionate. Beauty can possibly live another 43 years in captivity thanks to the team who gave her hope and a new beak. Okay, so first of all, amazing story. It is a true story, right? Because it is nonfiction, and we're focusing on nonfiction text. These are the references. So the authors who wrote this, they had to look and make sure that their facts were correct and accurate before they wrote this piece, because they didn't want to make anything up. Kind of think about our process with writing our biographies. We wanted to get all of the facts right. So if you were to think back at our text structures, right? Descriptive, chronological order, compare and contrast, cause and effect, problem and solution. Think about which one of these it was mostly focused on. So, woo! Let me see. Wow, this thing is going crazy. Maybe I can touch it. Oh, that's nice. Touch the screen. So, we have descriptive. This text describes characteristics of something. Not really. I don't feel that it was really just talking about describing the eagle. It was more of a story than just description. It's not just describing what a bald eagle is like. Chronological order, yes, it did. It talked about things in order, but it wasn't necessarily, in my opinion, focused on the dates and as like a biography would be, where that's usually chronological order. Compare and contrast. Think about it. Would we be able to do a Venn diagram for this? Probably not, because you're just kind of focused on that one bald eagle. Cause and effect. The events causes the results. You know what? That could work, right? That text structure is kind of there. The text explains events. It causes the results of these events. Yes, right? But what was this text structure? What was it mostly focused on? There was a problem, and then there were solutions. Okay, and I want us to look at, and if you were thinking cause and effect or one of the other ones, you're not totally wrong, but the authors did sort of structure this as a problem solution to spread awareness, right, of how to treat animals. Okay, so if we look at the text structure, and if we were doing this as a class together, we would try and identify what was the problem, and the problem can always be found at the beginning, right? Even if it's fiction, the problem is usually in the beginning of the story. So, what was the problem? Think about it. Obviously, you can't raise your hand right now, but think about it. What was the problem? If you're thinking the problem was Beauty, or this bald eagle, was illegally hunted and her upper beak was shot off, that is the problem. The problem is that she doesn't have an upper beak because a poacher shot it off. Okay? And more of the problem is that she can't survive because of it, right? So that would be the problem. The bald eagle's upper beak was shot off by a poacher and she could not survive on her own. Now, let's think about attempted solution. So an attempt at something is when you try something, right? Not every problem is solved right away. Usually there are multiple solutions, like attempted solutions, multiple attempts. So I think from what I remember, there was an attempted solution. So from the start, what did they do? Right, she was taken to a recovery center, and then they kept her there for about 2 years to try to see if what would grow back, right? To see if the beak would grow back. They waited for a new beak to grow, and after those 2 years, Beauty's beak didn't grow back, and the caretakers thought she would die, okay? So even though they were feeding her, because it was keeping her sinuses open, exposed to everything, she could get sick. They were like, whoa, this is too long. We need to do something else. So the first attempted solution was keeping her in a recovery center and waiting for her beak to grow back. They wanted to keep her safe. Did that work? No, so they had to try another solution. They had to try a different way to solve, they had to think of a different way to solve the problem. Then another solution, what they tried to do was when remember the specialist came in and took her to Birds of Prey Northwest Recovery Center in Idaho to create what? From a meeting she met someone, and then they were going to create an artificial beak, right? Made out of nylon. So that was the sort of like the second attempted solution, and maybe the whole solution. But if you remember, at first they were going to put her beak on using what? Who remembers that? Think about that to yourself. Obviously, I can't hear what you're saying, but think about what did they try to do first? And then they were like, ooh, that's too risky. They were going to try to attach it using screws. And then they were like, whoa, by trying to screw the beak on, that's getting kind of close to Beauty's brain and eyes, that if the screw got loose or if something happened, it could have really been harmful. So then they were like, okay, so we know we want to do an artificial beak, but we're not going to put screws. We're not going to attach it with screws. What did they realize that was the best bet? Using what?